All right, guys, the bunker shots. These can be absolute misery for some players. I see a lot of players come to me for in-person lessons over the years that really struggle just getting out of the bunker and hitting it sort of close to the hole, or they're happy just to get out at all. Well, there's a couple of really big mistakes. I guarantee you, if you're struggling to get out of the bunker, I will bet a large amount of money that you're doing one or maybe both of these things. I'm gonna go over it today, and I have a really simple solution. So not only will you get out of the bunker, but you're gonna be able to hit it close to the hole, feel aggressive, swing very hard, and not feel like you're just guiding the ball. Let's go ahead and get started. If you guys are joining us on YouTube, be sure to click that subscribe button. I got tons of awesome videos coming out for you all this year. Really gonna help you on your game, but if you're not subscribed, you may miss those. So click that subscribe button now. Okay, so the first piece is all about swing speed. Whenever I'm hitting a bunker shot, it's actually a really full swing. I'm hitting this shot pretty hard. Now, what I did to test this out is I took my GC Quad, and what it is, it has 4 high-speed cameras that go 10,000 frames a second, and it tells me how fast my club is moving, all kinds of different parameters about the ball. And what I did is I hit a variety of bunker shots. I tried to keep them somewhere between 15, 20 yards from the green, and I looked at how fast my club head was moving. What I found is for those kind of mid-range 15, 20-yard bunker shots, so from where I'm at to where my ball lands is about 15 yards. I was swinging about 65 to 75 miles an hour. That's pretty daggone fast. Now, players that I see that are struggling to hit out of the bunker and to be very consistent with it, when I made swings that looked about what I usually see when I'm giving in-person lessons to those types of players, I was only swinging like 30 or 35 miles per hour. So a huge difference in the swing speed. Now, why does that matter? What does it matter how fast I swing? Well, if you can imagine, if I'm setting up this ball and I have a very aggressive swing, let's go ahead and do one of my 60 to 75 mile an hour swings here. I got a huge margin for error. I flew that ball all the way up. Oh, I almost made the shot. Flew that ball all the way to the hole, really smacked that sand. And the thing is, my face is wide open and I'm hitting a lot of sand and my club's just going right on through it. Now, when I'm swinging half that speed, if I make that exact same shot and I take out a lot of sand behind the ball or I open the face quite a bit, let me go ahead and try to swing one about half that speed this time. I barely got out of the bunker, cleared the lip by a foot or two, and I'm nowhere near the green. So what do I start to do? Well, a couple things could happen. One of the most common things that I see happen when I'm doing this is players will start to close that face a little bit. So now instead of having that face wide open, they tried it like that. The ball barely gets out of the bunker. It stays in the bunker because they're not swinging fast enough. So what they do is they start to close that face a little bit. Now here's what happens when you close the face. If we're looking at the bottom of this club, there's a flange or a piece of metal that's sticking down. This kind of acts like a rudder. So as that club starts to go into the sand, this catches the sand, helps it slide through the sand and slide underneath the golf ball. Now, if I start to close the face and make it more square, I lose that angle. All I have is this really sharp leading edge. And if I hit, let's say 4 or 5 inches behind this golf ball, what happens is that leading edge starts to catch sand and that face digs deeper and deeper down into the sand. So by the time I reach my golf ball, my club is so deep into the sand, it's lost all of its speed, and I'm just gonna barely dribble one in front of me. Let's go ahead and try that out. It's a big swing or 30, 40 mile an hour swing, and the ball went 6 inches. That's because I took all that loft off the club. Now I say, okay, well, that didn't work. I'm swinging slower. I tried de-lofting the club, that didn't work. I have a big divot here, or a big patch that I knocked out of there. So what ends up happening from there is maybe I try to hit a little closer and closer to the ball. I catch it thin and I blade it all the way across the green. So what it feels like is there's no chance. You go a little slower or a little bit more sand, you leave it in the bunker. You get a little bit less sand and that thing shoots way across the green. So the solution to this is to swing much, much faster, much firmer. To give you a frame of reference, I also went out and tested with my lob wedge. You can use a sand wedge or lob wedge from the bunker. But I went back to the fairway and I said, you know, what is that 60 to 75 mile per hour? What does that equate to in distance if I'm hitting a normal wedge? And what I found is it's about a 1-to-1 ratio. So if I take my lob wedge and I swing it 70 miles an hour with a normal shot, that ball is going to go about 70 yards. So if you normally hit your sand wedge 60 to 75 yards or your lob wedge 60 to 75 yards, you're essentially making an absolute full swing when hitting a proper bunker shot. So that's the first key. We have to swing aggressive. If we swing aggressive, Now we can start to open the face, which allows the flange to get down. It allows it to glide through the sand, makes it much easier. And it also allows us to hit much more behind the ball, take out a big swipe of sand and get it up on the green. Now the second piece of this one I'm going to talk about is how far behind the ball should I get? And I was actually reading a comment on Facebook recently with a player talking about getting really close to it. And he thought that the pros were hitting just right at the ball. Whenever you hit behind the ball, it's going to leave it in the bunker. So, they're assuming that you want to hit within 1 or 2 inches of this golf ball. And I also put that to the test. Let's go ahead and see what that looks like. All right, so what we can do is we can draw a line in the sand. I'm going to try to line this up with my hole the best I can here. But I can draw this line in the sand. Hopefully you guys can see that on camera. So I'll try to make it a little bit thicker. And I'm going to put my golf ball just basically right on the front edge of that. So that'll just be kind of a normal lie on a golf ball. So if I hit and the first bit of sand I move is on that line, I know I'm pretty much hitting the golf ball and the sand at the same time. As I get farther behind that line, let's actually go ahead, instead of using a tee, I'm going to make this a little bit deeper so we can see this on camera better. I'll go ahead and use my golf club. So you can see that's really got a kind of a deeper line. I'll smooth that out so it won't affect the shot at all. So this big trough here is basically essentially where I would first hit the golf ball. So if I don't hit any sand behind that line, then I know that I'm basically hitting ball and sand at the same time. So what I did when I tested this is I went ahead and hit some good shots. And let's take a look at this with a good shot first. So I'm going to have this face open, nice aggressive swing. Let's go ahead and pop it right up there on the green. There we go, another good one. Oh, barely missed that one too. And here's what you'll notice. That ball, I'm going to set this ball where that ball used to be. Now there's my ball, and if you look, here's the very first part of the sand that I entered into. So if I'm using my foot, that's a good 6 or 7 inches behind the golf ball. So again, what I've done is I've swung hard enough where I can hit 6 or 7 inches behind the golf ball. I can take out a big swipe of sand. I can have the face wide open, and that thing's going to be pretty consistent. What happens if I start getting closer to that line? So again here, let's put that golf ball there, and let's try to inch it up. Instead of being back here 6, 7 inches behind it, I'm going to try to get 3 or 4 inches. And I got to tell you, it makes me nervous just thinking about doing this. If I'm getting within 3 or 4 inches, this ball is very likely going to just shoot right over the green. And that's exactly what it did. I caught the ball clean, and I didn't catch all that much sand. It didn't feel like I caught that much sand. But if you look at that again, here, if I put my ball on the front of where that was, and I look at where my club entered, now we move that to about 3 or 4 inches behind the golf ball. Now the 2 inches behind the golf ball, which is kind of floating around, as that might be a good idea, that thing is going to sail 50 yards over the green. There's a road probably 50 yards past this hole. I wouldn't be surprised if I do that. I might hit it on the road. Let's go ahead and try it out. I don't know if it's going to make it to the road or not. Almost to the road. And that one is exactly about 1 inch behind the golf ball. So again, here's my golf ball. And then there was the very first place that I entered the sand, about 1 inch behind it. So if you're making the proper swing, if you're swinging fast enough to hit great quality bunker shots and you have the face open, you're going to skull the heck out of these things. And again, here's the reason. As I open this face, that brings the leading edge higher up off the ground or off my finger, again, because there's this flange here. So I have to hit well behind the ball and let the club slide under the ball. If I hit at the ball and this leading edge is sticking up, that thing is going to fly way over the green. So if you want to be consistent, you got to follow those rules. All right, so what do we need to do now? Let's go ahead and wrap this up. What's something we can take to the course? We've talked about a lot of information. Here's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to play this ball a little bit on the front foot. I'm going to open my stance a little bit. That way it's just a little easier to come through the shot. I'm going to open my face wide open. If I put it toward the camera, this leading edge is going to be about 30, maybe even 40 degrees open, and then I'm going to re-grip the club. Now, as I set that down to the ground, that club is essentially wide open. I mean, it is facing the sky. Now, for those of you that hit your sand wedge or your lob wedge around that 60 to 75 yard range, it's a full swing. You're swinging as hard as you can, just like you're hitting a full sand wedge from the fairway. The only reason it's going slower is because A, the sand's going to slow it down, and B, my face is wide open. So if I swing, let's say I swing 80 miles an hour, because the face is open and the sand slows it down, it maybe goes 3-4 feet longer. If I swing 60 miles an hour, it goes 6-7 feet shorter. It's going to be really consistent. So ball forward, feet a little open. I'm going to flare out this front foot. I'm gonna bend my left leg and get a lot of the weight on my front foot. That face is open, and then finally here, I'm gonna thump the sand, and if I look down, if I mark where my ball is, if I look down, I should be about 6 or 7 inches behind where my golf ball was. Let's give it a whirl. All right, another good bunker shot. I'll definitely take that one. All right, so let's take it to the next step. It's great to get out of these bunkers and be able to knock them stiff, but we're not gonna get too many of these, especially if we're playing pretty well. Most of the time, we're gonna be in the grass where we can hit those nice spinning chip shots, those ones that really take one stop and hop, grab by the pin. Those are fun to hit. I got a great bonus video that's gonna show you exactly how to do that. You're just gonna click on the iCard up on the screen or down below in the description, the link down there. It's gonna get you instant access to that. You're gonna be able to hit these cool bunker shots. You're gonna be able to hit those spinning wedges and have a ton of fun. Let's go ahead and get started. Pitch shot could be anywhere from right by the green all the way back to probably 50 or 60 yards or so. And that's what you're going to want to do when you want to get a little bit more spin and get the ball a little bit more up in the air. We're going to go ahead and let the wrist set a little bit more, have a little bit more club action, get the ball to go a little higher in the air with a little bit more spin. So let me go ahead and describe what is a good pitch shot so that you know what you're really going for. I think we got to start from there, start from contact. So as I make contact, I want to be coming in very shallow to the ground. So I don't want to be taking much of a divot. I don't want to be hitting down into the ground. As the club releases and we have a flat spot where the club travels very level with the ground for 5 or 6 inches on these pitch shots. So when that happens, let me go ahead and exaggerate. As my hand is coming down, my hands are close to the ground. As this club gets closer and closer to the ground, my hands move up. As the club moves down, now you're seeing them having this flat spot.